We often get asked what we recommend for those looking for a long-range 12-foot setup, for people that are not looking to upgrade to 13-foot rods and want to stick with the existing 12-foot length that they're probably a lot more used to. Well, here's what we recommend. The Sentry Stealth Graphene Reinforced range, the 12-foot 3 3/4, the Stealth Spotting Machine and the Stealth Marker. So what are the key benefits of using a 12-foot rod for long-range fishing? Well, first of all, most of you out there would probably use 12-foot rods in the past, a lot more than you've used 13s. In fact, most anglers, from the feedback we get, have never used 13-foot rods at all. So if you stick with a 12-foot rod, a more powerful 12-foot rod, it means it's going to be easier for you to adjust. You're not going to need to change your casting action too much, and you'll be able to keep everything far more similar to the casting action that you're used to, which means you'll be able to get out the blocks a little bit quicker and get casting big ranges with probably less practice. Secondly, a 12-foot rod, obviously being a foot shorter than a 13-foot rod, generally dictates there's going to be less material used in the rod. What that means is overall the rod's going to weigh a lot less. Less weight generally means it's easier to handle, which means more tip speed, and more tip speed is going to equal a lot more distance. And lastly, we have to again mention accuracy. So accuracy with this rod in particular is a key feature, as the latest version of our famed anti-twist technology, the way that the tip fibres are constructed and the way that the fibres are laid down in the tip section makes this undoubtedly one of the most, if not the most accurate rod available on the market today. So how do you get the most from your long-range angling and long-range casting using the Stealth Graphene Reinforced carp rods? First of all, one good tip is to always make sure that you wet the guides. These have titanium guides on them, and if you wet the guides, wet the silicone inside the liners, then it just makes sure that everything's nice and lubricated and the line's going to flow through nicely when you cast. The last thing you want is dry line and dry rings. It's just going to create a lot of friction. So make sure everything's dipped in the lake, the butt ring all the way up to the tip, just to make sure that eases through nicely on the cast. Secondly, another great tip is to focus on the release point on the cast. That's the point where you let go of the line with your finger and where the lead is released. So in my opinion, the optimal position is about 45 degrees. The closer you can get to that position, the better. If you're too early, you see the rod's pointing straight up in the air, you're just going to pop the lead straight up in the air and it's not going to go anywhere. And an even worse one is if you let go of it too late and over recover, it's going to put a hell of a lot of pressure on the rod tip. Sometimes you see people whacking the rod tip into the water. That's over recovery where they've let go of it too late. So 45 degrees is going to give you a perfect trajectory and be optimal for distance. And lastly is to work on transferring your weight. So all the guys you can see that can really cast don't really cast primarily with their arms. They'll use a lot of weight transfer back to front. So you want to be starting, if you can, with your weight favouring your back leg. Some people like to pull their front toe up off the floor and bend the back leg. Some people just like to tilt and transfer the weight back to front. But most importantly, you want to use as much of your body weight as you can when you're casting to load the rod on the way back and transfer the momentum on the way through, and use your body weight to force the rod forwards, not just flicking the rod with your arms and your elbows.